Alright, it's time for day one of Kevin's week of top 10, so that way he doesn't have to review shitty-ass January movies. Granted, we're starting the week off by talking about the worst of what animes I saw in 2014. So without further ado, let's cue title scene! First up, something people are gonna want to remember. These are the animes that I didn't like that came out. Then also, originally I was going to do it as a top 10 worst animes of 2014, but luckily I got out of seeing a lot of the bad animes of 2014 because I got asked to review older stuff, and my computer stopped working, so I've been able to watch a lot of newer stuff. But these are the things I watched this year that were just subpar or just didn't work for me. I understand all of these animes have their fan bases. I'm not trying to insult anyone. This is just the way I interpreted things. So remember, don't hate me too much. And with that, let's begin. Commenters start now. But let me make something very clear. Actually, this is something I should probably explain. The first couple of these are not animes I hated, but the thing is, this is a top 10 list, and these are the things that, compared to what else I watched this year, weren't very good. And honestly, Clan Ad for me was just okay. And for something that's been hyped this much by so many reviewers and fans and everyone, to find out it was pretty much just mediocre kind of really pissed me off when it was all said and done. I mean, the series does succeed in some of the areas it wants to and is trying to, but for the most part, it's just another teeny bopper dramedy slash comedy, all that stuff, and it goes on way too long. And the big thing is with the characters. If you want me to care about your people you've invented, then make them like people, instead of just generic archetypes. That way you can feel more crappy and sad when something bad happens. Again, the series was overall fine, but for everything I've heard, I was expecting a lot more and a lot less Fuko. This one is actually topping a lot of people's worst of the year list. And I actually, once again, kind of liked this one. It was fun and was actiony, but yeah, it does have a lot of problems. The characters are all pretty flat and generic. The animation is just average. And again, a lot of the plot you think is going to be like these fun, cool adventures, or will implement trains in a fun, cool way. And when you find out, for the most part, it's just a generic ecchi harem with some admittedly cool but pretty basic plot lines. It really leaves you wanting more, and not in the way that you want more show, you just wish the show in front of you was better. So overall, I liked it, but could have been so much goddamn better. Though the boobs were nice. Now we're getting into things I actually just didn't like. And this one is one that I almost did like, but haven't gotten my review out yet. And I want to get a review out because this series does something in the beginning that I can't stand that shows do all the time and really pisses me off, and I'd love to use this anime to show why not, but that'll be in the future. But overall, Tokyo ESP is just another generic, by-the-book numbers plot. There's superpowers that don't really make any sense. There's a lot of plot points that go nowhere. There's very bizarre character designs, a lot of things that don't make any sense, and the series is constantly trying to feel like it's for an older audience when it's mostly just doing crap you find in things for 6-year-olds. Overall, I kept wanting for something good to happen, for me to like this series, and there were moments where it got cool, but this series is just way too clunky and all over the place for me. A friend of mine wanted me to watch Momo-kyun Sword because they said for an ecchi it's really good, and I figured, what the hell, give the genre a chance to redeem itself after some of the other things you'll see on this list. And actually, there are a couple cool moments of this. It's never anything great, but some of the action scenes are pretty neat, and I do like some of the cleverer, weirder concepts they work in. But there's terrible decision-making here, and decision-making that doesn't even make sense. Like, there's an episode with a beach, and I mean, if you're just working on classic fetish, why would you include that? There's water that was CGI'd when it just would have made more sense to 2D it. It's just a series with so many weird, what the hell am I looking at moments that don't really go anywhere. A lot of times where you think the plot's gonna get interesting, but it doesn't, and because it just makes the whole thing awkward. And again, like I said, just all the weird decisions that just take you out of the series and just kicking you in the fucking nuts. Although, if you're looking for something to get your nuts off, this series will do the trick.
1, 2.
When I first saw that this series was like Fairly Odd Parents, but the teenage version, I thought it could be really fun and have some really good moments, and it was fun at times and had some interesting dramatic moments. But for the most part, Heaven's Lost Property is, like I said, just another generic ecchi. There's nothing that interesting here. And the thing is, anytime something does happen that's interesting, it just goes off in another direction, leaves that plot point sitting there, and never does anything with it. It just starts up subplot after subplot. They're really complicated to follow, and there's no payoff. The humor gets old fast, the characters aren't well developed except for two of them, and the thing is that the rest of the characters are just so flat and boring, or such just a complete mess to watch. Again, I really thought there was something good here, and I understand that in the manga it gets really dark and really interesting, and they keep saying they're going to continue this anime, which probably never happened, but until that happens, this thing is just mediocre. Yeah, you all knew this one was coming up. I can't stand Sword Art Online. There's no way around it. The thing is that the action is cool, the animation's very well done, and some of the plot ideas it brings up are very interesting and I would like to see done more these days. But the series as a whole lacks any depth, and it's basically just another teen drama that tricks you into thinking it's one genre and it's going to be something really cool and super intense, and then you find out it's this teen romance bullshit. Except for half the time the characters in teen romance are so stupid and annoying, you kind of want them to end up together just because of how pathetic they are. This time around, I really didn't want these two to be together. Like I said in my review, if I knew someone like Kazuto, I'd avoid him. If I knew a girl like Asuna, I'd tell her to dump his ass, and then I'd want her to put her ass on this lap. Yeah, getting a little pervy here. Let's just move on. Now we're getting into the generally terrible things. Sekirei is the definition of bad because, like some other things, it just doesn't try. There's no effort put into anything. The animation is generic. The characters are generic. I did like the relationship between our protagonist and the main girl, but the thing is, all of that just gets overshadowed so that way they can just run in like naked women all the time. Which again, as a man, it kind of makes me a little happy, but I'm not a dipshit. That doesn't make a series entertaining. I watch this stuff for story, for fun, for adventure, for comedy, all these things, and this series doesn't do any of that. If I want to look up naked pictures of women, I'll just use the internet. That's what the internet's for, right? Right? People love Watamote. They think Tomoko is one of the most connectable characters in anime history, the humor is very good, and the series generally shows what the life is like for the average nerd. People, you need to see a shrink. I get people love this series, I hate it, it freaking sucks. I feel really bad for this series, actually. The acting is really good. The animation, though not very good, does have its interesting moments and can have interesting stuff done with it, and I think the ideas the series wants to explore are good ones that need to be explored these days. But for the most part, none of the jokes hit, the plot is very repetitive, almost non-existent, and for the most part, the series just tries to drive your patience and thinks that's what makes something funny. No! What makes a character like Tomoko who's this stupid work is when they have redeeming qualities. When your only redeeming qualities is that she's just supposed to make you think you're like her, that doesn't count. This has got to be one of the most infuriatingly dumb and stupid and just flat out boring animes I have ever seen in my life. Nerds rant against me, but I'm standing strong against this one. Thank God there's no season 2. These next two are pretty interchangeable. 2 and 1, it kind of depends on my mood. They both are fucking horrible. I decided to put Future Card Buddy Fight in the second place because it's terrible. I'm just gonna flat out right now. I stuck with it for 10 episodes, and I tried sticking with it after that, and I was kind when I did that 10 episode update video thing, and I said there were some redeeming qualities of it, and I was even kind and gave it a pretty higher score. That, I wish I never did that. This series is so infuriatingly terrible. It looks cheap. The acting, except for the main character, is terrible. The CGI is pointless. Buddy Fight is a great game. I have a Buddy Fight deck. Dragon World Forever. I love the game. Do not think I am mistaking one for the other. But this anime is nothing but a cheap, shitty-ass cash grab with no creativity or no originality or even any passion put into this. I don't understand why people like it. Again, if you do, I'm totally fine with that. There's just nothing here for me. How could this be the worst? I literally made 2 videos on that last anime ranting about how horrible it is. But there was only one anime this year that truly made me physically ill. Like, seriously, when I finished this series, my stomach was turning and I thought I was going to be sick. Okay, maybe part of that was because I had, like, a lot of Taco Bell right before I watched the last episode. But I'm assuming it's this series. Chunibya Shina, whatever it's freaking called. The first season is excellent. You're going to see it on another list that comes out in a few days. But this season, this second season, is one of the most annoying, cliche, pandering, waste of times I have ever watched in my life. All the characters have their personalities taken away, there is no overarching plot, and every episode just drags itself out, plodding along, basically spreading this message to all young teenage nerd girls out there all over the world. Hey, you don't need to think. You don't need to learn to be responsible. You don't need to give a crap about anyone. Your boyfriend's gonna do that for you. Well, take it from this guy who's never had a girlfriend and is single and is kind of bizarre himself. Fuck this shit anime. It's one of the worst I've ever seen in my life because it takes something really good and just turns it into lazy garbage. But did you think that? Like I said, all of these animes have their fan bases, and chances are you're probably one of them for one of these. And if you did like it, that doesn't bother me. It at least means one of us had a happy time watching this. And again, I don't... Nah, that's it. Just fuck these anime as far as I'm concerned. But did you think that? In the comment section below, give me your worst anime you watched this year, and you're probably just gonna complain about my opinions anyways. And as always, click to like, click to subscribe, because there's happier top 10s along the way.